Good, so welcome to the now fourth session. And what I was thinking is, last week we covered a really intensive session, which was the 5 skills that every parent should know, but was just never taught. And for me, what's really useful about looking at what we did last week is, this concept of we've never been taught it. It kind of like astounds me that we're born into this world, and one of the things that we need to do to continue life happening, in other words, we have offspring so that our species survives, we are kind of born with this intense desire to care and look after. And the main modality for us to have a relationship with other people is through language. It is the main modality. In other words, yes, we've got physical touch, we've got a lot of other ways of expressing our love and expressing thoughts and emotions. I mean, if you think music, for example, is also a medium, a channel through which we can express an experience or feeling. Painting is another one, or art, dance. Those are all mediums for us to express part of who we are and what we're thinking so that someone else can understand it. But verbal communication, or words, language, is an essential component and perhaps one of the easiest and the quickest for us to use in our relationships, or perhaps the one that we use the most often. But it's also the one that we're not really trained in except by how we've been brought up. So, what we're looking at, and especially the last week's on those 5 skills, which really can change relationships, I've found that if we really capture those ones, we make the biggest impact. And those 5 were choices, was the first one. If you remember, there are a whole lot of different kinds of choices we can give. Choices in this situation, choices about boundaries. Really, it diffuses the power struggle because it really creates a sense of empowerment. We then went into short and sweet, which is that experience of when you keep talking, and they're not listening, and there's that energy which we're just not conveying to them, that like real decisive firmness. That's where that short and sweet comes in just so beautifully. It's just non-threatening. It's just, this is how it is. And if we align what's happening inside of us with our words, we get a really good result without fear being the motivator of them cooperating or behaving with us. Share what you need, essential as well. How much we spend our time in what we don't want, as opposed to just what we do need. And this is the story I want to share with you with Kaylin. And obviously after that was respect for the struggle. In other words, really acknowledging that being human, I guess, is learning about how to live in this world. And childhood is a significant part of your life where you're learning at an incredibly rapid rate. And the challenges can be huge. Can be intellectual. I was doing puzzles when you're 3-year-old and you're doing a 1,000-piece puzzle is hugely challenging. Through to, and let's even say physical, a young child trying to pick up puzzle pieces, go on swings, ride bicycles, type on computers. All those things are challenges that we set for ourselves as goals perhaps, or because we need to learn them. And sometimes they're really difficult. So how do we support people in persevering, in keeping that stamina going, keeping that determination without it falling apart and just people giving up? Because if we recall, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way you're right. If you think you can't, you're not even going to try, not even going to give it a go. So that's where really like engaging and acknowledging the difficulty that some people may have and creating space for them to overcome that is a real significant bonus and skill. The other one, descriptive praise. It's universally known that praise is essential, but praise comes with huge curveballs. Descriptive praise is perhaps the safest, the easiest skill so that it penetrates through someone's defenses. Because as human beings, we've also got a whole lot of defenses that actually prevent someone else's good intention from impacting us. How often we just push someone else's praise away. No, you didn't really mean that. Or we say to someone, oh, that looks really nice on you. Oh, well, that's just I pulled it out of my cupboard. I haven't worn it for a long time. As opposed to, yeah, thank you. I'm really pleased with what I'm wearing. All those defenses are so strong. And no matter the good intention of the person giving the praise, if the person who is receiving the praise doesn't accept it, then your praise hasn't amounted to much. So we need to find ways to penetrate through that. And that is very much descriptive praise really highlights that. And of course, for me, in the descriptive praise is that key component, which is the summative praise. In other words, summing up their praise in a word or a descriptive adjective, which really captures the essence through which your child then starts to see themselves. So are they being responsible? Is that organizational? Are they committed? Are they clear? Are they punctual? All those words that we label them with are really powerful ones because then your child starts to see themselves as that. And what opens up is a whole world for them of rapid acceleration through building of self-esteem. as opposed to just being piecemeal. So those are really the 5 skills, even though, as you know, there are so many subsets of that really can create an impact from day one and everlasting in your home environment. The story I want to share captures actually, I think, one of them, which is this last week. I had quite a few opportunities to spend time with Kaylin, so our 4.5-year-old. And if you remember, we talked about in choices where you set the boundary and then you give a choice within the boundary, thereby your child not arguing about the boundary, but being powerful in choosing what they want to do in the boundary. So in other words, it's bath time now, would you like red bubbles or yellow bubbles? So what I found is I got home yesterday from picking Kaylin up from her grandma's, and she says to me, Robin, do you want to play the shopping game? In other words, what the shopping game is, one of those board games where you obviously have different players and you roll the dice and you move along, etc., etc. And she's quite excited about this. But she says to me, Robin, do you want to play the shopping game? Do you want to be the green person or the yellow person? Okay? I'm like, And you know what was so interesting is within myself, if she had just said, do you want to play the shopping game? I would have said, no, not really at the moment, because I'm just going to settle in. The moment she gave me the choice, I found myself focusing on the choice. Seriously, I thought actually I want to be the green person. So I felt it really work on me that when you give a choice, even though she hadn't set the boundary, right? Because she can't say, Robin, we're going to play the shopping game now. Do you want to play this or that? But she might get to that point. But in this case, she obviously invited me into it, asked me, and then gave me choices. And then I spent my time choosing as opposed to really being strong on that, or on deciding if I wanted to play the game or not. So there was 2 things out of that. One is I felt in myself the power of how it diffuses and actually gets my cooperation to engage with her, because I know that works for me with her, but I felt it myself in return, which is amazing. And the second one is how quickly our children use the same skills back on us. Because not much later, she said, Robin, I'm hungry. Can I have some biltong or can I have some mango? She's again asking me choices, as opposed to, Robin, you need to give me some food. This is what I want. So every time I can see she's just giving me back the choices. Before her bath time, we play this game in our house called the lifting game. So Kaylin really likes, she's quite inspired by the circus. In other words, acrobatics and a whole lot of different things. So she likes to, we lie on our back and we lift her up on our feet and hold her above the head, and she flies and does these somersaults, etc., etc. So she says, we're going into the room. She says, so Robin, are we going to have 10 times, 7 times, or 6 times, as turns? So she's continuously knows now that asking questions and giving choices is somehow a result. She's getting results, and that's why she's continuing the process. So even though, and this is the fascinating thing, is she doesn't yet know how much 10 is or 6 is or 7 is. There's still conceptual words and figures which aren't concretized. So for her, probably if I said 7, 8, or 9, she wouldn't know which is the greater or the lesser. So it shows me that she's learning what she's being told and then repeating that, which is what children do, right? That's how we learn language. That's how we learn how to resolve anything. That's how we learn to resolve conflict, how we learn to be in conflict, how we learn to shout or not shout or solve problems, is how they're experiencing it with the people who are important to them, namely yourselves or their peers or teachers, which again just emphasizes that the real impact of the work that we're doing here this morning and any of the other courses is really around you as well. You're part of that process. And if you think that it's going to happen in your child, and that's where the key needs to unlock, well, consider that you're the one that actually has greater chance or opportunity to do that, because you're conscious of that. For them, they're learning it as rote, as default, because that's what they're exposed to. They're not yet conscious of saying, well, I wonder which is going to work best, if I give a choice to my mom and dad or if I threaten them. They're just doing, and whatever they're doing, if they're getting the result, it works. So Kaylin knows that if she threatens me, she's not going to get a result. I'm just not going to buy into that, and quickly she's going to change to do something different. It's usually adults that keep doing the same thing over and over again, but hope that it's going to get a different result the next time. Whereas children, if they don't get the result straight away, they change. Recall that video clip. I think I would have sent it to you as a link. That what's the point of throwing a tantrum if no one can see you? Why waste a tantrum if no one can see you? There's the child throwing the tantrum. The parents walk out of the room. The child stops throwing the tantrum, gets up, follows them to where they are, sees them looking at them, falls down again, and carries on throwing the tantrum. The parents get up, walk out, and the child stops crying, gets up, toddles over again, and falls down again where the parents are, and starts throwing the tantrum again. So they really realize that there's no point in throwing the tantrum if no one's there to see it. Right? Throwing a tantrum gets a result. They get what they're needing, or mom and dad then give in. And what we're experiencing is Kaylin is realizing that when she does what we would call, let's say, the more emotionally intelligent behavioral actions, she's getting the results because we're reinforcing that by just engaging her in those moments. So if she's wanting something to eat, then if she keeps just demanding or throwing tantrum to get it, well, we're not really going to positively acknowledge that or respond in such a way that's going to reinforce that. We're going to support her in, again, using that skill of sharing what we need. Not saying that what she's doing is wrong, it's just ineffective. And if you do it this way, you'll get even a better result. And very quickly she's realizing, hey, I'm getting a better result if I do what they're asking me, and we're moving forward. So it's a real cycle of supporting her in getting what she needs and us in what we need. And as a result, the flow is back in place. So a real excellent reinforcer of really what we're working on, because it works all the way around. We're feeling good about it. We acknowledge that it's actually moving us closer to where we want to get to. We're all feeling more empowered by it. And it means we're also standing in, this is what is meaningful to us, which is what we're wanting, to create the kind of environments that we're wanting, as opposed to feeling that it just happens and there's nothing else we can do. And why did we have children in the first place? Or, wow, this is really difficult. Or just living for the once in a while, once in a week, once in 2 weeks moments where we feel that connection because our children look in our eyes and say, oh, you're the best dad or you're the best mom in the world. And our hearts just go pita, 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 like that. So that's my experience of this last week, really reinforcing again those skills we looked at last week.
There is nothing that adequately prepares us for the most important job there is, and that is that of parenting. The 5 skills that every parent should know but was never taught are the essential communication skills that provide parents and children with new beliefs, knowledge, and hands-on experience that improve the overall functioning in the family home. You can now parent with more confidence instead of frustration, which will result in enjoyment and rewards. You will also accelerate your growth into being the wonderful parent you want to be. Once you learn these skills, a lot of the normal parenting problems will simply just fade away. So visit the website at www.robinbooth.co.za for your free skills.